All right, I have to make a video about this because I just can't believe how bad this movie that I saw was, and I just had to rant about it just a little bit. I think I may have found my new least liked movie, my new most hated movie. And this is really disappointing to say because the studio who's responsible for this movie, I think is the best movie studio out there right now, A24. I think A24 has made some of my favorite movies of all time in just the past 10 years. Like recently, I saw Saint Maud, and I was just blown away by that. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I think that's a great movie. Marcel the Shell with Shoes. That is a charming as hell movie. If you've never seen Marcel, please see this movie. It is so good. It's like their one family friendly movie, and it's really good. With all of that said, they have made what is possibly the worst movie I've ever seen. And I'm going to tell you what that movie is right now. It is Dix the Musical. Dix the Musical, this movie is criminally atrocious. This is a fucking awful movie. I would argue that this movie is just terrible from the very beginning. But I will be honest, and I do want to say a couple good things before I get into my more negative thoughts about this movie. When it started out, for the first like 10, 15 minutes, I was on board for this irreverent comedy that, is most likely going for some kind of shock value. And it's a musical, which I think it's A24's first musical, which is a shame, is a shame. And the singing is good. The singing is really good. I would say just about all the musical numbers are sung very well. The subject of these musical numbers suck, but the way that they're sung, it's pretty good. And I was finding enough of the humor at the beginning of this movie to be like, random enough and out there enough where I was like, this is going to be kind of a funny movie. This is like, oh, wow. This is A24 like trying its hand at like a zany musical comedy or something like that. But quickly, this movie fell off for me. I mean, I don't know what else to say, really, like, that's nice, except for, I guess I can say, at least you can give it to a studio for trying to greenlight, like, even though I feel like everything falls flat on its face, you can give it to a studio for trying to greenlight something so out there and so random, which is what A24 does. Unfortunately, in this case, all of these random ideas and everything, they have no heart to them. There's no heart. It's not funny. I had a friend who I was ranting about this movie to, and he said that this movie is for people who mistake sass for comedy. They think that just by being sassy, you're funny. And I couldn't agree more with that. This movie has like so much like misplaced ideas of what humor is and what comedy is. I feel like this movie wants to be something like a John Waters movie, or it wants to be something like a Matt Stone and Trey Parker movie or something like that. Or maybe even something like Monty Python, something that Monty Python has done. But it doesn't have heart. There's no fucking heart behind this movie. There's like no wit. I was gonna say there's hardly any wit. There is no wit behind this movie. This movie isn't clever in any way whatsoever. And I have to say this right out. Meg Thee Stallion's song is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in a movie. Uh, just the subject of the song, though it doesn't bother me. I mean, like, I'm not bothered by the subject or anything like that. I'm not offended by it or anything like that. But it's just, it's like, what's the point of this song? What's the point of this fucking movie? The way that the song is rapped and the instrumentals behind it and everything, it comes off cheesy in the worst fucking way. It makes Meg Thee Stallion look like a fucking dollar store version of herself. It is so weird. It is so bizarre. By the time that song came on, I was debating with myself, like, do I still want to watch this movie? But I was already to a point where I'm like, I may as well just finish the fucking movie because, like, why not? It's, at least it's not like a super duper long movie. So, like, why not? I'll just stick with it. I'm already past the halfway point. Fuck it. But that song is so fucking awful. Everything about it is so awful. I actually think this movie looks like shit. There's one specific part where I don't know why I can't think of the actor's name. I can't think of the actress's name either. But the two actors who play the mom and the dad, there's this part where they jump in a sewer hole, like an open manhole. They jump into a sewer, and it's done like in like the shittiest like green screen CGI way you can possibly think of. Like, this movie, it's almost like going out of its way to be really fucking bad. But it doesn't have like an opposite effect where it's like, this is so fucking bad that it's brilliant. This is so fucking bad that it's good. This should be one of the worst things that I've ever seen, but it's like one of the best things I've ever seen because it's like how can you make something so bad? But no, it's just so fucking bad that it is so fucking bad. It is terrible. Now, if this is the kind of movie that you like, hey, more power to you. I never will say, oh, you shouldn't like this movie or you shouldn't think that this is funny. But for me, this was so hard to sit through. I've sat through plenty of long movies. A movie that comes to mind that I sat through that was really long was this movie called 1900, which I think came out in the 70s. It's an Italian movie, has Robert De Niro in it. But that movie, it's like 5 hours long. This fucking movie is like 5 hours long, but it is so good, or at least in my eyes, this movie is just so good, and it has such a scope to it, and it's just so epic, and it's just kind of like telling the story of these two guys' lives and stuff, and it makes the duration of the movie not feel like anything because it is just so good. Lawrence of Arabia, I'm in the camp of that's a classic movie and it's a great movie. The movie's like 4 hours long or something like that, but it's a fucking phenomenal movie and it keeps you engaged. Dix, the musical, I want to say is almost 2 hours long, which that's not an unusual length for a movie. I think it's like 90 to 120 minutes. That's like average length. That's average length for a movie. But this movie felt like forever. I hated it. And this movie, it gave me, because it has no heart and it has no soul, and it has nothing clever about it, it gave me this awful feeling. Like, I really felt like I was sick watching this. And, I felt bad. I felt bad after watching this. I don't know if you've ever watched something that just, or you've like listened to an album, or you've seen something where after you consume it, you're like, ugh, I feel like I just consumed discarded junk food that's been in a dumpster for like a fucking week. and it's all moldy and rotten and stuff, and I was like forced to eat it or something like that. I mean, I guess I wasn't forced. I guess I fucking chose to watch this movie, so shame on me, but that's how I felt. This is, I do think, this is the worst A24 movie, period, which is really hard for me to say because I love A24. I even like some of the movies that a lot of people are kind of polarized by, like Lamb. I liked Lamb. I thought Lamb was a great movie. I thought it was just nice, and uh, I thought it had, like, it was different enough where I liked it, and it was just a sort of a low key movie. Well, until things get a little crazy or whatever. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. But I even like that. And even when I see a movie by A24 that I don't necessarily fall in love with, at least I can say, like, damn, no other studio would fucking greenlight this movie. Only A24, and I can at least admire something for how different it is. Not this movie, not Dix the Musical. Dix the Musical is so fucking bad. It is just, I would never recommend this movie to anybody. Ever. Never. And like I said, if you like this movie and this is your shit, that's great. But for me, it is the worst thing I've ever seen. Before this, I would probably say either the movie Disaster Movie or The Love Guru is like the worst thing I've ever seen. Those movies were probably tied for the worst fucking things I've ever seen. But at least when I saw those movies, like when I saw them, when they were new, I knew that I was in for a piece of shit movie. I knew that it was going to be bad. And it delivered. I mean, both those fucking movies delivered in full. Trust me. But I think Dix the Musical is worse than a movie like Disaster Movie, because, like I said, I expected Disaster Movie to be a piece of shit. I mean, it's like, it's made by the guys who make all the movies, like Date Movie and Epic Movie and all that. Like, they're fucking terrible. These movies are fucking awful. They're all fucking awful. So I knew what I was getting into. Like, I knew I was just gonna like, I just, for some morbid curiosity, I just watched it anyways. And with The Love Guru, I knew it was going to be a piece of shit. But with this movie, with Dix the Musical, I had no expectations, and I wrongly thought, oh, it's A24, so at worst, at least it's interesting. No. This sucked the soul out of me. It is fucking awful. And just to recap, I do think that Saying Something Good, the songs for the most part, besides Make the Stallion song is shit all the way through. It is the fucking worst thing in the fucking world. I think that the songs are well sung. They're well performed. I think the subject matter of all the songs are mindless and stupid, and it kind of comes from like a mean place where you don't feel good, but at least they're sung well. I guess you got to give props to somebody who, tries out the most random ideas they can think of, even if they all fall flat. Like, it's like, hey, I guess you were trying for something, so there you go. But besides those little things, because, I always feel like there's at least something good you can say about any movie. This was tough. This movie hurt. This movie hurt to watch. And I quickly watched a good movie in order to counter this movie and bring me back to a good balance. And that was the Meyerowitz stories, the Noah Baumbach movie. If you've never seen that, it's a pretty good movie. And I would recommend that. And it's a charming movie, and I was glad that I did that because Dix the Musical it it like really destroyed me, and it just left such a bad taste in my mouth, and I felt awful. So it was good to watch a good movie that I do think is funny and I do think is charming. All right, that's all I have to say about Dix the musical. What a fucking piece of shit.